Hello world, it's Monday the 22nd of January and we're looking at a forecast for soaring from Worcester tomorrow, Tuesday the 23rd of January 2024. Just looking at the boundary layer winds, you can see that we have a similar pattern to what we had today. The wind, valley wind blowing up the Breda River Valley and gusting round the corner, picking up to nearly 30 knots in the Tilbach Valley. This is at 2 o'clock. And by 5 o'clock we can see that it's picked up quite a lot more. It's reaching close on 30 knots around Robertson, both sides of Robertson Spur, and a number of points in the Tilbach Valley. But one thing that is different tomorrow than what was today is that there's much less cloud. That's at 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock, and zooming out, cloud won't be in effect tomorrow. Now, if there's no cloud, it means one of two things. It's either the air is much drier, or it means that the air is more stable and there's no that the thermals don't get high enough to form clouds. So looking at the height of the critical updraft strength, we can see that it is actually, there are some stable gaps. That's where the wind is, the valley wind is affecting the Tilbach Valley. Around Worcester itself doesn't look too bad. We have perhaps 5,000 feet in the Worcester Valley, down towards Villiersdorp and towards Robertson. It starts getting a little bit weaker past Robertson. But by 5 o'clock, the picture changes. Tilbach Valley is completely dead. We still have some life around the Breda River Valley, around Worcester, but not all that high, 3,000, 3,500 feet, and looking a lot weaker to the east. Let's have a look at some of the wind in detail. This is a surface wind at 2 o'clock. You notice I'm still using mainly the high resolution charts because I think we need to understand what we can do closer to the airfield before we worry about what we can do further away. This valley wind comes up and you can actually see it turns onto the ridge, so from Robertson through to Worcester, and then once you get around the corner, the top of the Witzenberg should work, but this area is quite challenging. There's normally some lift on Mosterd's Hook and sometimes on Vijhoek, so you could sort of hop from one to the other and get as far as the end of the Witzenberg and hopefully still be able to get back again. There are also options on the Villiersdorp Bridge. It's a bit calmer on Slanghoek. I'm not sure if that would be working. And then just to point out, on the Robertson Spur, if you get near it from one side or the other, one side should have good lift and the other bad turbulence. By 5 o'clock, the picture is looking a lot busier. There's still some chance of it working on the Witzenberg, and then quite a difficult task to get back around the corner onto Mosterd's Hook, and from there to get back to Worcester. And from the east, once again, if you're downwind of Robertson Spur over here, it's going to be quite turbulent. Let's look at some soundings to see what possible tasks could be set. Robertson at 2 o'clock, that looks viable, although the inversion is quite high. The actual thermic layer is not all that high. It's not going much, perhaps 4,000 feet. And then it starts cooling off. So that could be usable on the ridge, but not all that strong. The wind is very easterly. In Swellendam, it's the same but worse. That looks cut off at about 3,000 feet, and the evidence of the valley winds are here already. So about 2 o'clock, Swellendam looks quite a challenge. Riversdale, similar. By 5 o'clock, you don't want to be at Riversdale, and you don't want to be at Swellendam. Well, you 2,500 feet maybe around Swellendam. Robertson, slightly better, but we've got this valley wind, and actually it's cut off probably around 3,000 feet. So to the east, possibly a short task. It would be quite challenging, but possible, or plausible, I should say. Going to the north, that's Tilbach. We can see this valley wind already here at 2 o'clock, and we saw on the wind chart how you might try and get around that. Porterville, if you eventually get there, it's very southerly, and also around below 4,000 feet inversion. Renosterhoek, also a low inversion, but the ridge is also low, so you can probably carry on quite happily there. On your way back, Renosterhoek, 5 o'clock, the same story. The ridge is low, the inversion is also low. The wind direction is changing a bit, and it's coming slightly easterly, which is perhaps not what you want. But by 5 o'clock in Porterville, that little notch there in this wind profile and a very southerly wind, to get from Porterville back across the Tilbach Valley onto the Witzenberg, that looks quite challenging at 5 o'clock. And then once again, when you get to Tilbach, well, the valley itself is looking very thick, and you'd have to tiptoe around it very strategically along the ridges. And even then, you're going to be facing this wind as a headwind at some stage. And finally back to Worcester, where it's looking a little bit less inhospitable. So second option for tomorrow could be a task to the north. It would, once again, could not be too long, and it would be quite tricky. There are also options to go south. You could go south along the Villiers-Dorp Bridge as far as the neck of the Poort. If you go a bit further down, then the wind changes and it's not so favorable. So yeah, there are task options also in the Breda River Valley itself. There should be some options. So we'll leave that to the task setters tomorrow to figure out where to send you. And let's have another look at how to get the grid into the air. At 11 o'clock it is actually thermic. It's quite low, it's below 4,000 feet, but it is thermic, so you could launch and have the grid floating around until things get a bit better. And if I look at 11 o'clock at the 3,000 foot cross section, we can see signs of lift on. That actually looks like Brandbach, but there are some options. So you could start launching, I won't say at 11 o'clock, but you don't have to wait until late in the afternoon. Which, if you're doing a short task, or you know the day is going to end early, you don't want to start too late. Last one, this is Worcester tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Definitely by 2 o'clock you can be launching quite happily. Looking a bit ahead onto Wednesday. I won't go into the details for Wednesday, but this is the surface wind, and as you can see, there are options to the east and to the north. So Wednesday is looking like a better day, and I think the chances are of a longer task on Wednesday than there are tomorrow. I won't go into any more details on Wednesday, it's still too early, but yeah, it is slowly picking up and getting better. So to those, when you fly tomorrow, please be careful and have fun, and we will talk to you again tomorrow night.